And here we are. You can see, like I mentioned, getting started. Uh, got our two divisions here started up underneath an army. Uh, Start with a new leader here. Just chew up some of the command points that we have, get them out here to keep our really good leader 40011 freed to be our field marshal. And that's important because one of the special things about TV Town is that they have a system of augments. And you'll get those as you go through the focus tree, and they do different things to this particular leader, like improve their logistics, their planning, their defense, their offense, and it's fantastic. So you want that to apply to as many units as possible. So we're going to have them on the sidelines, at least initially here, till we build up that command power and be able to put them in there as that field marshal. So, starting this unit leader, we want to try to maximize the defense out of them. Now, I rolled pretty lucky here. So we got a skilled leader, so we have extra bonus to their skill bonuses. So that's a 50% increase on their perceptive bonuses, which attack and defense plus 2.5%. Add an extra 50% in there, it's 3.75 instead, which is awesome. Enduring, that's kind of nice. It just means that there's a better chance of your general sticking around during combat and not getting sidelined to where your units are losing out on the bonuses that they provide. And the free trait that I selected here is rooted. The name of the game starting off here is you just got to survive. And so everything that's going to be beefing up, like defense on core territories, entrenchment speed, stuff like that is going to be key. So, we start off with rooted with them, and as they get more experience, we can do further things to, improve that defensive capability. And eventually we get to a point where we're ready to go on the offensive. We can replace them with somebody better. Next thing to kind of dive into here is the toughest part about starting with TV Town is this debuff, the director's vision. All right, so the director's keeping everybody in this loop, and it just destroys your units, right? Division organization minus 99%, construction speed minus 99%, research speed minus percent, factory output minus 99%. So you have nothing going on. The only thing that you have is your political power and your ability to work through your focuses to try to get rid of this debuff. And that's going to be our primary focus. Get rid of this debuff as quickly as possible. And as it says here, we want to do that through getting runner party popularity, but there's also the main part of the focus tree here is confronting the director. So we want to try to get this focus out of the way as quickly as possible. Now, we want to work towards that top focus where it says, all of the following must be true. More than 50% support for runners, we'll get there anyway. And at least 2 of the following must be true. The Marigold's Flux Drift Generator, stopping the Sandman, or Site 3303. So, stopping the Sandman, this is going to be another one that's hugely important. When I click play, the Sandman's going to show up. And so it's an additional debuff, an extra 25% off the top of division organization, construction speed, research speed, factory output, and justify war goal time, but that's not as important starting out. But still, the rest of those, such a problem. So we're going to be, trying to work through this part of the tree, get rid of that debuff, and then we would just need one of the two here, either the Marigold's Flux Drift Generator or the Site 3303. A good way to think about this tree is that the left side is going to be your civilian factories, and the right side is going to be more your military factories. So why the civilian factories? So, what are we going to do without units? So we can't build anything. Well, even with the 2 divisions that we have, and we'll have more divisions before things really get popping, unless we're really unlucky. But by having these civilian factories and kind of going down that path, we can build outposts and forts. And once you have maxed out outposts, maxed out forts, you're going to be in a great position to really, you know, survive that initial step. And then you can work through the rest of these focuses and really start to build up the military to be able to eliminate everybody around you, because you're going to be able to, completely outstrip them, especially the further down the focus tree you get. There's a lot of neat little quirks in this tree, but there's also the augments, like I was mentioning before, where you can do different things with your main leader to really make your army very effective and just punch yourself out of the hole. So, speaking of building out those forts and outposts, you can see here this is the starting construction. So we want to focus initially on just this main TV town, because this is, that's where we lose that, it's all over. So that's where we're starting off. So we have trying to rush to getting 6 levels of outpost there and 2 levels of bunker there. And you might say, well, how the hell are you going to get there with no civilian factories? Well, that's what the focus tree is for. But initially we want to start there, and then we can start working on getting a top level outposts everywhere else, and then top level forts, and then finally we can start kind of digging into really ramping up the arms workshops. Now, TV Town itself has a ton of building slots available to it. If I can actually click. So there's all of these building slots, and there will be more that get unlocked through your focus tree. So you'll be able to build a ton of factories just in TV Town itself. So that's what I'm saying about being able to survive is the first step. Then you'll be able to outproduce whoever's surrounding you and wipe them out, and then proceed to have your way with the rest of the West Coast here. So that's kind of it for construction. The other thing to kind of dive into here is production. So if you notice here, we're creating outdated implants. When you first fire this up, this is going to be Mark V implants. There's no way you're going to get any units out the door if you're trying to make Mark V implants. It's just not going to happen. So drop it down to Mark II implants. Once you start getting those military factories from your focuses, you'll be able to really get those out the door, actually get some units out in the field. Try to not max that out, but try to use a good chunk of your initial factories on that, because once you get your basic infantry unit uses half basic weaponry, half implants. Once you have 50% of your equipment, you can deploy the unit, and that's going to be enough for you to be able to hold your territory until you can again build up that military factory pool and start actually producing some weapons. And we'll get into that later on as we kind of progress through. And then as far as recruitment goes, we just want runners to start. So we're going to go ahead, keep an eye on the manpower here, but we're going to get down to, well, I don't want to do it this way, dummy. So we add the units here, get down to have a buffer of about 200 manpower. This doesn't really matter too much. You'll see that as we get started, there's some events that come up that will make this really exciting. But for now, get 5 divisions ready to rock, and then once you start getting that military production, you'll start being able to throw these out here. The other thing that's interesting to point out, I haven't started any research, and you might say, Foosh, what are you doing? You got to do research, right? Well, remember those debuffs. Those debuffs are atrocious. Let me show you how long it takes for the basic tech. 8,391 days. No thanks. Right? Yeah, you could use military experience here, but nah, don't do that. So, what we're going to do instead is we're going to wait. We're going to leave our research open, and then some of our focuses are going to give us uh, bonuses to build time, specifically around industry. And so we can come in here and we, even with all of the debuffs, we would still be able to research construction basics in like 150 days or something. Uh, so you want to wait for that to hit before you start doing your research, because otherwise, if you've started research and then the bonus comes, well, you're not going to apply that to your current research. So that's that. Another thing to point out, like I was talking about briefly with the implants here, we got them all. Well, not all. Not the seriously. This is a very bad, very very bad idea. Uh, but we still have implants 5, and this is where once we build up our industrial behemoth, we're gonna start really being able to roll over all of our neighbors. So, with that said, I believe we're ready to unpause and rock and roll. So, speed at 4. Let's kick the tires and light the fires. Yep. And these are the types of events that'll come up, Yeah, okay, neighboring raiders, they're going to try to push you around. Who cares? Let them come. Let them try. Yep. And of course, the caps update. Already played. Give me some bottle caps. Uh, I guess on the subject of bottle caps, one of the things I wanted to talk about is you may have come across some guides for TV Town in the past, and they say, oh, we'll only build 3 outposts in each part of your territory, and that's enough to dissuade the AI from attacking. That's no longer the case. They will raffle stomp you. It'll be a bad time for everybody. So that's why we're going for the max. The other thing they tell you is, we're doing a little bit of it with our production, with trying to get a decent amount of factories and implants first, but they tell you to not even bother trying to build basic weaponry, because you'll just get caps and you can just purchase it from the marketplace, from the organizations. Let me show you a little something. Current opinion, minus 50, minus 50, minus 50, minus 50. Yeah, the Mavens are okay, but, when you need a minimum opinion of 90 to buy anything from the Mavens, that's going to take a while. But even, with the gun runners, trying to get just basic pipe weapons, you need an opinion of 0. You start at negative 50. So unless you get really lucky with some events that are going to let you get those opinion numbers up, you're going to be stuck. So you definitely still want to have that production. So they've done a few things here to kind of de-cheese the starting point of TV Town to really make it the challenge that the devs were trying to set out for. All right. So now we have our first focus complete. Some background, some lore, but I'll leave this up as an exercise to the reader. Play the game yourself, get through it. I'm not going to read it for everybody, but looks like we get some planning skill. All right, it's a good start. Go into the next focus. What are these people anyway? All right. Next focus down. Get some logistics skill. And we keep rolling down the list. All of the factions in the Old World Blues mod, if you're not familiar, they all start off with these like three basic focuses that you will fire off events. In some cases, give you some options as to how you want to kind of mold the starting point of your particular faction. But they all are just the 7 days, just kind of quickly get everything rolling. So we'll go ahead and get through the next one. Yeah, see, and this is a case where we're getting unlucky around events for the organizations. I mean, Butcher Pete's not somebody that will necessarily be using their services, but again, this would be a potential to just get some melee weapons to equip our units with. Nope, not with that attitude. All right, so this is the last of our initial starting focuses, but nothing, no bonus here. Just getting ready to really get into it. Oh, there's that Sandman that I was warning you about. So, Sandman's influence, those huge debuffs, are just making our lives just a little bit worse. And so, we definitely want to be sure to try to get past that. So, like I said, this is something we want to rush to, but we want to make sure before we start any of these focuses that we have at least 25% support for the runners. Now, the reason we do that is all of these all of these focuses don't really give you the greatest of bonuses. 25 army experience is nice. 150% research bonus for electronics technology. Yeah, it's kind of nice too. Land doctrine, always good. Infantry technology. But what you're going to see out of the other focuses is so much more useful. Like, we're going to start off with the limited time offer holotape. And the reason we do that is this will give us periodic events that just give you a bundle of political power, which is really useful for trying to get different technologies, different people in place that are going to really ramp up our construction speed, which again, that is the first thing we want to do. It also gives us opportunity to core territories a lot faster. So that's where we're going to start. Now, of course, there's another reason why we want to start that way, and we'll see when that event pops. We'll go through that. You can see the start of TV Town's kind of slow, kind of boring. You're just kind of hanging out, waiting for things to happen. The other territories around you, they're starting to build up their armies. They're getting ready to go to war with each other. But for now, we're just the call ourselves the sleeping giant here. So a lot of just wait around, get through days, wait for our political power to grow to a point where we can start modifying our government, getting those advisors in place, stuff like that. And you might think in yourself, well, Foosh, why not just kick it up to 5 if everything's so slow to start? Well, one of the things I want to be aware of is there's some events that pop up early on that we want to be able to pause it right away and act on it. We don't want to be stuck in a place where we're losing time. And somebody else is off declaring war. But we don't want to be in a place where when that event fires that we've overshot by a day or losing things, because everything's so tight with the start of TV Town. Later on there might be opportunities for us to speed it up. So got enough political power, be able to do some decisions. Just use this as an opportunity to kind of walk through some of the things that you may be used to trying to rush through with the events and decisions that we're not going to do with TV Town. One of them being the scavenging program. Now, the scavenging program, for those of you that don't know, basically a repeatable random event generator. Sometimes you get different technology firms. Sometimes you get bonuses to tech speed research, and sometimes they just eat your manpower. But it's definitely a useful way to keep trying to get some really nice buffs for your territory. Now the problem with that is it not only requires manpower to send out these scavenging teams, it also requires infantry equipment, which we're not going to have for a long time. So we'll go ahead and just save our caps for a while. Obviously the other thing is we don't have civilian factories to use at the moment, so we're going to wait on that as well. That's pretty much it. Nothing really to do with organizations for a while, so we can go ahead and collapse that. The political actions will come into play. This is something that we want to make sure that we're really building up our ability to survive and get those buffs from having high stability and high war support. So one of the things we can do is, hey, we have 50 political power. We can sacrifice 10% research speed and gain some stability. That sounds pretty good, considering we're not researching anything right now anyway. Let's go ahead and do that. So we'll get that kicked off, get a little more stability built up, and we'll just keep trying to work through some of those different things. So we start off with taking that decision, and then our next big thing is going to be wait until we get to 100 political power and start messing with our government. So. And here it is, the Robo Scorpions. Now, you're like, well, what the hell is Big Mountain Robo Scorpions doing all the way up here? Just decided to take a little gander around the wastelands, see what's out here, and they settled on our humble little TV town. So, be some events that pop up. They're gonna be pretty unpleasant. So we'll just try to work through that. And so this kind of plays into why another reason why I started off with the strange holotape focus is that allows us to not build up runner support. It's like, well, hang on, Foosh. We want to build up runner support. You just said that that's like the big thing we want to do. Not yet. We want to get rid of this. So if you notice, this event popped. Our support change, minus 1%. That's bad. So if we had invested time into our focuses by this point, to where we were starting to build that runner support, we're going to lose it. We're going to lose out. And so, we would have to do potentially more of the ancillary focuses before we could get into the meat of getting rid of the Sandman, getting rid of the Director. So we're going to let these attacks happen. They're going to hurt. This one kind of sucks. Losing that political power is going to be bad. And, back to back with another event, if we lose 500 manpower, that hurts. But, we had a bunch of manpower already in use in training. So, it's not going to hurt as bad as it could. So we just kind of let it go. Low manpower, you don't say. And let's keep going and see what else those Robo Scorpions have for us. All right, and now we have our holotape, our first augment. All right, so we have a strange holotape. But now we go all over to the right, dealing with the Robo Scorpions. So we can now, we weren't able to do this focus at the start. We had to wait until the Robo Scorpion events started firing before we could take the focus to prevent the Robo Scorpions from messing with us. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. Again, this gives us an opportunity to just let the Robo Scorpion events hit us when we already don't have anything, so it doesn't really matter too much. So it's really beneficial in that regard. Now, as far as adding augments, they come down here in our decision tree. And so you can see Strange Holotape doesn't do anything out of the box, but occasionally we get helpful whispers. I'm not going to accept it yet. And the reason for that is, again, we're still under this threat of Roboscorpion attacks. And when Roboscorpion attacks happen, they could eat up our political power. When we add this augment, we get an event that gives us political power. So we don't want to sacrifice that just yet. So we'll go ahead and wait and let those Roboscorpions do their worst. And just let everybody else declare war on each other. I guess this is a good a time as any to check on our neighbors. Linnaeus rolling through Arizona there. So no war goals there yet, or justifications. Same there. Let our autosave roll through. Sons of Kaga, kind of chilling out. 215th, also not doing too much. So we'll just kind of sit tight, let ourselves enjoy this little bit of peace and quiet for a while. So one of the things to note, while we're looking here, unknown focus. We don't have any intel. Why aren't we doing anything about that? Well, again, creating an agency. Oop. All right, what did this one do? Well, another manpower minus 500. More support change lost. But We only had one manpower. Oh well. We already had 0% runner support. Oh well. But anyway, back to the intelligence agency. You can't create one until you have civilian factories. And we need those civilian factories to build up our defenses. So we're not going to be creating this intel agency until way, way later on. And with that, we go back to running towards our next focus. Oh, I see you moving there. So I'm going to guess that somebody is getting close to getting ready to declare a war. So I'll just watch for the fireworks to start. Ah, the followers of Apocalypse. So there's some interesting buffs here that we could take advantage of. Uh, However, even though they can boost your stability, they detract from your war support. They also have some hidden mechanics around if you build too many military factories, they start demanding that you replace the military factories with civilian factories. And if you don't within their timeline, then your stability takes a huge hit. We don't want that. We're going to have to build a bunch of military factories. We have zero. We need them. So, unfortunately, we're going to have to tell the followers to get lost, take a hike. So that means we're coming into our decisions here and we're saying, well, what do we do? We don't have enough manpower to really affect them at all. This sucks. Well, that's why we've kind of built up a bunch of units in our queue. We can cancel one. Hey, look, we got manpower back. So now that we've done that, we can come in here and do the raid the followers' supplies. So after 15 days, we get some of our manpower back, but we also get that medical technology research bonus. Additionally, it's one of the events that helps tip the scales away from letting the followers get established. So we'll do that one. And now seize the followers fort. Again, this is a case where we need that manpower. But this is going to give us, if you notice, an outpost. Hell yeah. And a civilian workshop. Extra bonus. So definitely want to do that. And now we're back down to essentially zero manpower. So we'll go ahead and let things roll. And we'll see if we get lucky and the followers are gone. Oh boy, now all the fun starts. So we can see here we have our first set of fireworks kicking off. So we have, like I had mentioned at the start here, Sons of Kaga in the 215th going at it. Rogue Rangers and the Guardians also going at it. There's some unaffiliated wars also happening. More importantly, we've dealt with the Roboscorpions. Yeah, more wars, more wars. Go away. All right, so now that we've dealt with those types of threats, we can really start getting into things. So we can see here, we're going to start on this left side because we want to get those civilian workshops rolling. We really want to be able to build up those outposts and those forts. And once we're done on this side, again, get through a big chunk of this, finish off the Sandman, go back to this side until we get the flux drift generator and get rid of the director. That's our big focus. So we'll start on Marigold Avenue. It's going to give us a nice political power boost. Speaking of political power boosts, now that we're safe from Roboscorpions, get that holotape going, get some funky tunes to come through as well, and blissfully we give our name and get political power. So good. So now we can go in, we can start looking at modifying our government. Well, like I said, what's the first thing we need to do? Outposts and forts. So let's get the junk walls and more going, get those outposts and forts. And keep an eye on these followers, because, oh man, if they get in, it's going to be tough. And now we can see here, we got rid of the followers. So we won't have to worry about any hits to our war support, or worse, later on, our stability. We start off with a little bit of a minor hit to stability and research speed, but that bonus to war support is huge, and that mobilization speed is going to really help as far as getting our manpower reserves built back up so we can support our war machine. All right. Get our Marigold Avenue. Get that big chunk of political power. We're going to start getting into the rest of our fun things. Now, we have two options here as far as the actual crux of building out our civilian workshops. So we have the Copperton equipment deal, which gives us, some research bonuses, gives us that one civilian workshop off map, I might add, really powerful, and adds a bunch of runner support. And it's, one of the things that we need for Marigold's Flux Drift generator, right? But if we go to left path, we still get our civilian workshop that's off map. We get a little less runner support, but we get that exoskin fabrication, construction speed plus 13%. That's pretty nice. And it unlocks component recycling, which is 2 more off map workshops, plus, some resources. Same thing with household repair tools, another 2 workshops. So 1 workshop or 5 workshops? I wonder. So, always want to go this left path and really start getting those workshops fired up. Because at least early on, this is going to be your only source of having civilian workshops, because we're going to be constructing nothing but arms workshops. So go ahead and get that rolling. Now, one thing I want to do while we're in here, messing with our government, one of the things that people have mentioned as a potential strategy is, kind of abusing a mechanic where, let's say, it looks like that maybe the Sons of Kaga are getting the upper hand. So you go in here, you use some of your plentiful political power here, and you justify war goal. You justify that war goal, draw some units away from their front line with who they're fighting with to, protect against a potential attack from us. What I've noticed is that doesn't really do too much. And more importantly, that's going to get rid of a chunk of our political power, which, like I said, we are going to need for modifying our government, getting advisors in there, and later on, being able to turn all these territories into cores. So it helps a little bit, but not enough to really justify that cost in political power. And also, it's kind of a cheap tactic anyway. We should be able to do enough with what we're working on to be able to survive without resorting to this tactic. So we'll just go ahead and let them fight it out on their own. We'll go in here and we'll do some modifications on our own. So we could take a look at, have our land doctrine research speed plus 10%, army experience gain plus 0.15 daily. That's pretty nice. Now, between the two, it's like, conventional warfare research speed plus 10%. Same army experience gain. There's really no difference between these two that I've found so far, because really conventional warfare is going to be where you're putting most of your focus anyway. You're going to want to take advantage of the fact that you have sophisticated technology in vehicles and sophisticated technology in infantry. That all screams conventional warfare. So, I don't know. You like Oscar or you like Leslie? Kind of personal preference. But maybe there's somebody better to start off with. Now we get into our economic advisors. Old world infrastructure. It's kind of nice. Homestead Defender, however, look at those outpost and land fort construction speed bonuses. Now that's what I'm talking about. Let's get that guy in there. Start really ramping that up. And away we go. And again, those big political power boosts. We're ready for yet another person to get in here. So, again, just kind of looking around, see what we have. Warmonger, probably not the greatest idea. Yeah, the war support's nice. Justify war goal time's nice, but being able to justify on us faster, not so nice. We want to wait on that. Um, so yeah, I think we'll go back to our economic advisors here and see if there's somebody else that can help us out. Uh, Civilian factory construction speed, yeah, that might be nice. Military factory construction speed, on the other hand, that'd be pretty nice too. Take a look at some of the some of our other major businesses. Again, Tolchinsky Engineering's a nice one to have. If we were later on down the path where we're actually producing infantry equipment, this might be nice. That bonus to soft attack is going to be great. Uh, or even docks getting into getting some uh, more manpower, be able to do things. Building out infrastructure, not as fun. The political power gain, the stability gain for Golden Gecko is pretty nice too. But we're not going to be spending our political power on a lot initially. So while we want more, we always want more. Right now we don't need it, but what we are going to want is the ability to have that army experience to say, okay, let's get these doctrines enabled that are going to give our units, less supply consumption, better planning, better entrenchment. So I'm going to go ahead and get Leslie going. All right, we got our next focus here. Again, giving us that construction speed boost, that extra civilian workshop. Oh, we're just gonna keep riding that gravy train. It doesn't really matter between these two which one you choose first, so just go ahead and pick one and roll with it. And now we can see we have 2 workshops working. We also only have to build 5 level of outposts instead of 6 because of that one that we stole from the Followers of Apocalypse. So we'll get there. April next year, it's pretty far away, but again, we're going to start continuing to ramp things up as we get through more focuses. It's really going to make this a lot easier to work with. All right, we got component recycling going. We'll go ahead and get into the household repair tools. Just keep those factories rolling. So, we got 4 there. It's pretty nice. We'll also take this opportunity to take a look at the state of things, and 215th starting to push the Sons of Kaga back a little bit. And Guardians and Rogue Rangers, they keep attacking each other. Well, then they stop. They attack each other. Well, then they stop. Nothing really to report up here. This one will start getting interesting. We'll see how that continues to roll on if one really gains the upper hand over the other. I don't think it's ready to call just yet. All right, another 100 political power. Another opportunity to adjust things to meet our needs. So, taking a look again, looking at that political power gain, it'd be pretty nice. But again, we want to focus on getting things built faster, surviving. Political power is helpful, but we really want to survive. So I think what we're going to do is we want to hold off a little bit and see if we can get that extra war support that we need. Right? So right now, looking at 39% war support. Once we get to 50, when we get this well-equipped army out here, drops down our consumer goods factories needs, but also improves our military factory construction speed and gets rid of the debuffs on some of our other construction speeds and conversion costs. So that's definitely something we want to keep an eye on, but not quite there yet. So what else can we look at? We look at Chief of the Army. Now we're talking. That division defense, that max entrenchment, all about building up that ability to survive. So we go ahead and bring them in. Speaking of getting our army in tip-top shape, take our time here now that we got a decent amount of command power. Go ahead and promote our good leader. Now we can get some traits in here as well. So say, fight the power is kind of nice. Again, that core territory boost. But light touch is always a good one. Gonna have a lot of infantry. Having the field marshal with that is gonna help. Melee attacker, when we start turning things around, that'll be a good one. There's some other ones, but really, looking at this tough leader, boy, that'd be nice. But you only get so many traits. That's probably something we want to hold off on as well. Again, planning speed, max planning, those are nice later on. Cults of personality versus smooth talker. That reinforce rate definitely gonna be helpful later on. But yeah, so we'll I think we'll go ahead and do light touch to start. just give us that extra little bit of boost to the infantry. And we'll go ahead and take melee hacker as well. Again, being able to kind of turn things around quickly when we're ready to do that attack. All right, got our next focus here. Uh, Also, just at the same time, we saw the 215th took the Sons of Kaga. They just managed to get that last, their last territory here, their capital, and that's all she wrote. So then there were four. So we'll see how that ends up affecting how the Guardians and the Rogue Rangers play out here. But now that we got our repair tools out of the way, well, what's next? Well, we can get into 2,000 civilian workshops. Hell yeah. Oh, wait, no. Just two. Thanks, devs. But, still, getting 2 civilian workshops for 30 days worth of work and an augment sounds like a plan to me. All right, now we're starting to get somewhere. Terrorist, but ah, it's the Mavens. Of course, it's the Mavens. See, this is what I was saying earlier about not relying on the ability to buy equipment. It's just too much of a crapshoot. So sorry to say, you're in it by yourself. You gotta take hold of your own destiny. All right, now we got teddy bears. Yay! Guard Street House Prankers. Thanks, bud. So again, extra two workshops, off map, of course. Little more support change. Looking pretty good. We're getting there. See, we're at 10, 15. Not over 20 yet, though. And again, we don't want to start any of these till we get over that 25% number. So, let's take a look. Adding a research slot. Again, not that helpful. But if we add that industry technology research bonus, now that would be helpful. Or we start going down this path and we can get, well, look at that, some more civilian workshops. So, however, really would like to start getting at least some research going now that we have, 8 factories. That's a good start. 2 of them are used for consumer goods, but now we got 6 that are being used for building things. Look at that. We're no longer in April. We're all the way up to 29th November. So now we're really starting to see things roll as far as getting things constructed. The other thing that we got from that focus, another augment. So now this one, look at that. Division defense plus 8%. Uses quite a bit more energy cells, but that extra defense is going to come in really clutch when we get to when the fighting starts. Now, surprisingly enough, speaking of fighting, again, Guardians and Rogue Rangers, still pretty much a stalemate along this line. And then 215th, they're just kind of hanging out, sitting it out, sitting on their gains, kind of consolidating. So it'll be interesting to see how this starts to shake out when either one of these two up here get the upper hand on the other, or the 215th decides to join the fray. All right. That next little bump of political power. Let's see. What do we want to do this time? No, we definitely don't need. Definitely don't need aircraft or navy designers. We don't have any technology for that. Uh, don't have any pre-war designs. We haven't sent out any scavengers. Uh, yeah, no vehicle designers. You know, it's potential that you're getting into major businesses might be nice. Again, that stability and that 5% political power gain. That's that's our next stop, because we want to make sure as this world tension goes up, you notice our war support is starting to tick up a little bit more. So again, once we get to that point where we have that 50% war support, being able to change our economy laws is going to be a real big bonus. Oh, and just in time for our next focus. Again, this is giving us our industry technology and our support change. So now we're just right there, almost on the cusp. We just need a little bit more to get past that Sandman. So we're going to go ahead and either get our Sneaking Deeper or Copperton Menor. Again, we're talking about this is going to be 75 days to get that support change, or 45 days to get that support change, or base stability, 3% support change. How close are we? We're at 21. So this again, it's going to need 60 at the very least to get to where we want to be to start working on getting rid of the Sandman. So ultimately, it's going to come down to let's add that research slot. Once we get rid of the Sandman, being able to do research is going to be helpful, and having that little extra bit of research production never hurt anybody either. Oh, I suppose I should actually go into doing the research that we were talking about. So, construction, of course. But look at that, 22 days. Banked up all of that research time, which also has the bonus applied to it. So even though we have a negative 104% research speed debuff, we're still going to be able to get our construction out the door. Getting into the industry planning to start unlocking our industry tech and tool procurement. We're getting into manpower. There's all kinds of things that are going to be nice. But again, we want to try to save it for that construction speed. At least one more for construction speed. So we'll go ahead and do industry planning, and we'll leave this last bonus unused for the time being. All right. And that Army experience gain starting to pay off. Get our first doctrine. Again, getting into that infantry. Start knocking down the supplies. And just work through each level of these perks as we can get them. So, again, we get into infantry combat experience gains and then organization buffs and recovery rate. So, these are definitely things that we want to try to get to as quickly as we can so that when we're attacked, we're ready. And there we go. Start getting our first little bit of industry. Now this one, 103 days, but that's because we don't have the banked research progress. But we're not ahead of time. Let's use that 150% bonus, get that construction speed up, and just keep cranking through that. Now the other thing that we can do, not that it's really particularly helpful now, but our research slots aren't really doing anything else at the time being, is we can start working on healing powder, using that bonus that we got from the Followers of Apocalypse earlier on. So we'll go ahead and get that research started. And I forgot, we got another augment from one of our focuses. And now this one, HP plus 10%, helps keep our units around longer. Defense skill bonus plus 1. Entrenchment speed plus 20%. Those are all things that, again, early on, they're going to be huge help. So we're going to go ahead and add that augment. I guess while we're here, another thing to mention is that we get 4 augments total that we can have on 40011. So, that's, we'll get the 4, and then over time we'll kind of adjust as needs arise. But for now, we're just, again, focusing on defense. That's what we want to do. But now that we got that construction bonus in our research, we only have 4 outposts left to build, and these are starting to really crank through. You can see this one's coming in, in 19th of February. So, before it was going to take over a year to build stuff. Now it's, down to months to get things out the door. So we're really, really starting to make a dent, which is awesome. All right. Now we got our Copperton Manor. Again, giving us that research slot. Not going to get a bunch of use out of it right now, but that runner support change. Now we're ready to start taking on the Sandman. So, start working down this path. Puts on hold our ability to start or continue expanding our industry, but again, getting rid of that debuff is so big. And then it's, like we said earlier on, 2/3 of the way to getting rid of the director. So, Sandman Stranglehold. Start working on that. And let's take a look at our decisions while we have some time here. So, we can come back and say, well, we're not really researching anything, so get a little more stability built up. Sounds like a good idea. I don't think we really have anything outstanding that we want to do with the government that's pressing anymore, right? Until we get to a point where our war support has bumped up. So let's go ahead and take that research hit while we're still in the process of getting rid of our research debuffs, and again, keep building up that stability because we're always going to want stability and war support. All right, got our first Sandman focus out of the way. Give us that nice army experience boost that we can again use on getting our infantry to be a little stronger, and go ahead and work on, well, let's see what's going to be most important out of all of these. I mean, getting that bonus for electronics technology will be nice, but really land doctrine is going to give us the most. So we'll start on that one first. Again, just in case. I suppose I'll take this opportunity to remind you, even though you've seen autosave pop up on the screen potentially, you'll want to manually save with any mod, but especially Old World Blues. Auto saves and cloud saves are not going to work for you. I know the devs have said that they're trying to work on finding a solution for that, but for the time being, at least the time of this recording, it ain't working. So protect yourself, protect your sanity, save early, save often. Manual saves, local saves. Trust me, you'll thank me later. All right. Well, we had our next focus come up, but while that was happening, I noticed that two 15th had some armies moving, and Guardians had some armies moving. So I wanted to take a look, and yeah, nothing happening here yet. Nothing happening here yet. I just decided to put that unit out there, even though they're in the middle of this war that is still basically a stalemate. We've had these two sectors change hands a couple of times during the course of the playthrough, but that's pretty much all that's happened. No victory points changing hands, no real breakthroughs or anything like that, just more and more stalemate. But, alright, so our next Sandman, we're going to go ahead and work on our infantry technology bonus. We need all three to be able to eliminate the Sandman, so we'll get through them all anyway. But just trying to prioritize the research that's going to help us out the most. So go ahead, come into our land doctrines, get that conventional warfare. Ooh, 432 days. Just maybe we should wait for that army experience, because that's a oof. That is a big oof. So it's actually going to be faster for us to wait for either more runner support to happen to reduce the debuffs, or for us to get enough army experience to be able to take this. We're out of the 25 experience cost doctrines anyway, so being able to get to 25 and use that boost here is not going to be a problem. The other thing to note here is we're still not suffering, but we're still going through that debuff of building up our stability here with the prioritized consumer technology, so that minus 10% is taking hold. So we might as well wait that out as well before we actually dive into it. Now things are starting to get spicy. The 215th just declared war on the Guardians, so we'll probably see some pretty big movement happening here really soon. Unfortunately, I dismissed the the icon, but you can see here where the combats are happening. The 215th is starting to move into Guardians territory, which is actually good for us, because one of the things that I've run into before, I guess I might as well pause because we can modify our government. One of the things I've run into before, with the Guardians being the last one standing, they have a lot of power armor, which means on top of creating implants and creating infantry equipment, you also need to consider creating anti-tank weapons. Ouch. The other two don't use armor as much, so we can probably get away with just creating the infantry equipment and the implants on their own. So hopefully, fingers crossed, between the our powers combined of the Rogue Rangers and the 215th, they're able to knock out the Guardians and remove one potential headache from our path to survival here. So let's see. What do we want to do? Again, we're still not quite there on war support. The world tension's been ticking up kind of slowly, slower than usual, I would say, but we'll get there eventually. But resource gain efficiency is nice, but we don't need it. We don't have any arms factories. trade laws, economy laws, we're going to have plenty of political power. I'm not worried about that. Um, getting into infrastructure, civilian factory construction, not that helpful. So we really don't have anyone here. I mean, maybe Jerome for the military construction speed, but you're looking at our construction queue here. You'll notice, hey, we only got 3 outposts left to build. That's kind of nice. These are starting to really crank out. But it's going to be a while before we start building our military factories. So we don't even need him so much. And so let's take a look at our cultural advisors instead. Now that's kind of nice. Getting that political power gain is going to be huge. Stability's nice. The recruitable population factor, also nice. But I think we're going to take Norton here. Get that stability out there, which is going to help. I mean, it helps everything, right? Construction speed goes up, and everything else gets stronger. Plus, again, getting that political power gain means we can modify things again a little more quickly in the near future. Now, now things are getting spicy. 215 said, you know what? One war is not enough. How about second war? So, they're going after the Road Rangers too, which will make things kind of interesting, kind of random. It can go a bunch of different ways. So we'll see what happens, and maybe we get lucky, and they get stuck in a three-way standoff, and we can just sit here and build up our army until we're ready to take the war to them, and while they're all still fighting each other, we can kind of mop them up. This has the potential of really being kind of a best case scenario for us. So we'll definitely watch and see how things progress there. Oh, we see the 215th getting an encirclement over here. Love to see it, hate to see it, depending on which side you're on. Right now, we're on nobody's side, so you kind of hate to see it happen, honestly. But that aside, we got our woodworking. Another 10% to our construction speed. Take a look at that. Finally starting to eat into those debuffs, right? Even with negative 98% with the extra skin fabrication, settlement protection, construction basics, and woodworking, we're only at negative 65%. And then on top of that, we have junk walls and more, and Carno Doubleday adding another 25% there. So we've pretty much eliminated the debuffs when it comes to building the outposts and the forts. So we're really on the cusp of starting to burn through that quickly and getting to having really defensible territories. Unfortunately, in the meantime, 1 day to research? Hell yeah. Wait, nope. That's a bug. That ain't gonna work. That's not accurate. Unfortunately. I wish it was that way. But it's not. As you can see here, when you try to cycle through to some of the more expensive technologies, it starts showing you the true picture of, even with the banked research and starting to get rid of some of the debuffs, they're still in the thousands of days to actually get something researched without a research bonus. So we're just gonna have to, unfortunately, sit on our hands a little bit longer when it comes to the research queue. Stonks. Ride that GameSpot to the moon. But in the meantime, TV Town to the moon? I mean, what do they say? TV landings were faked anyway, right? But I'll take the 60k bottle caps. Alternate reality. It's okay for me to say that. But yeah, building up this bottle cap reserve. But again, despite what they say, can't buy guns, can't buy bikes, can't buy laser guns, can't buy melee weapons, and, well, I mean, this is our most popular organization at 5. Just not gonna happen. So, again, we're still kind of on this train of having to take care of ourselves, having to build everything ourselves. So the longer that these three are fighting it out, the better for us, because that gives us the opportunity to get through our focuses and get things, built, get our factories up and running, and get troops out there, and eventually just win. All right. Our next Sandman focus is out of the way. Don't want to leave you all hanging in anticipation. So we'll get that last of the 3 before we can actually remove the debuff going. And we're well on our way. And again, as these 3 keep fighting, that's just better and better news for us. And just keep surviving. All right. Well, looks like we might be in a little bit of trouble here. Unfortunately, the 215th got real lucky with a couple of encirclements, and yeah, so the Guardians were wiped out. Again, kind of good, because less power armor we'll have to face, but kind of bad in how fast that rolled around, because we still haven't gotten rid of even the Sandman, let alone the Director. So we're still a little bit behind the 8 ball. We only got 2 divisions, which, even with full defensive buildings, is going to be kind of tough. So, hopefully the Rogue Rangers here can kind of tough it out a little bit. They took one state out of this, got some equipment out of it. Hopefully they can hold on a little bit longer. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right. Got our anticipation done. Now it's time to stop the Sandman. Give us a support change. So, again, it's every little bit of support change for runners eats into that debuff from the director, but also that 25% off the top, getting rid of that is going to be so huge and definitely is going to ramp up our survivability and, again, our ability to get these defensive buildings built, get that stuff out the door. So go ahead and jump over to research now that we've gotten a little bit more. So we can go into our electrical engineering here, get our ohms law, get that research speed rolling, get into infantry, and take a look at our warrior training, reducing that division training time, get things out the door faster. There's no way we're getting into our advanced weaponry anytime soon, and nobody's special on TV, so we don't have special forces. So go ahead and get that warrior training rolling as well. I gotta say, the AI for the 215 definitely ate their Wheaties today. This is like the fifth encirclement they've managed to pull off. So they're wrecking it. So, again, hopefully we're gonna, be able to stick it out long enough here. So I get through all of these messages. Stick it out long enough to be able to survive. Get those defensive buildings built before war comes our way. But man, I gotta say, I've never seen the AI pull off that many encirclements before. But we do have the potential of a little bit of saving grace, which is why I wanted to, talk about it here. I guess I'll pause so we can get to the government stuff. But New Reno declared war on Yakuza kind of unexpectedly, and has been kicking their butts. And so with New Reno bordering the 215th, there's a potential for them to go after each other instead of 215th coming after us, or maybe in addition to 215th coming after us. So, having that kind of two front war at least makes it so that we're not going to be focused on 100%. One of the things that's a potential downside to this, or the potential that this doesn't work in our favor, is that the Den just recently declared war on New Reno. So depending on the timing, we may still be in a little bit of a crunch. But for now, we'll go ahead and take a look at getting our high command changed here. So go ahead and take a look at what we have. Division organization, nice. Division attack, nice. Training time, recovery rate, those are nice too. As we, again, get rolling later on. Spy master, what spies? Now, this is an interesting conundrum here, and I think I'm leaning towards Albert right now. I don't normally go for the like the sneering imperialist types of traits for commanders or advisors in the government, because it only applies to core territory. But in the case of TV Town, because initially, at least, you're going to be stuck on your core territory for a while. That doesn't matter as much. So just getting that extra defense bonus is going to be really nice. So between these two, between Malvin and Albert, getting both of them into our high command is going to be, kind of useful for us surviving, at least that initial rush. So we'll go ahead, bring in Albert, because right now we don't have enough troops to defend the rest of our core territory. So, his attack on his attack bonus on core territory will come in handy, at least eventually. Oh, and there we go. 2/15th's the last one standing. So now it's pucker time. See what happens. How long it's going to take for 2/15th to say, well, you look like a nice little snack there, Bay. I ain't your Bay, 2/15th. I ain't your Bay. So we're going to do our best to stand our ground here. And, who knows? Maybe new Reno comes in and saves the day, having that big angry warmonger next to your territory tends to help sometimes prevent you from going after other states, but we'll just have to wait and see. But at the very least, we got the Sandman out of the way. Oh, getting rid of those debuffs. Oh, it feels so good. So good. Alright. Now, we want to rush to getting rid of the director, because getting rid of all of the debuffs is going to be a big deal. Adding a little extra of stability and civilian workshops is going to be good too. So, we're going to just rush down this left path, get rid of the director as quickly as we can. And, hopefully that's enough for us to kind of sneak on through. All right. One more. And so, again, this one's a little bit of a choice, but, off-map arms workshops, base war support, those are great things to have. But, again, the civilian workshops are more expensive. Getting that stability is such a huge boost because, again, if you're at war, offensive or defensive, your stability's taking a hit. So keeping that as high as possible, getting that base stability as high as possible is going to be, huge. And again, the civilian workshop edition is going to be great because we're not planning on building any civilian workshops. We're planning on just building arms factories. So we're going to get our arms factories eventually. We still got to build our defenses. So we want those civilian workshops. But now that we got that army experience, we can come into our research and say, hey, remember I was saying with this land doctrine? Well, we got rid of the Sandman and we have the army experience. So we can now start doing that. And we can come in here and see, well, is there anything else that we could do in a reasonable amount of time? Ooh. That agriculture, 161 days, ain't too bad. Tool procurement ain't that bad either. Again, right now we're trying to focus on being able to survive. So we're already working on this warrior training from an earlier buff. So just kind of diving through what can we do. The combat language is great because of that reinforce rate, but we're not going to have the equipment available. Getting the manpower available is going to be great, but we're not going to be able to equip those troops. So the limitation is real. So really what it comes down to is what can we do? What's going to give us the most bang for our buck? Getting a resource gain's nice, free repair. So we just kind of like look through, and honestly, there's nothing, right? Like you just look at it all, and it's like, oh my gosh, there's nothing here. So let's just think about setting ourselves up for the best success when we start getting arms factories. So we're going into tools, try to get those tools out there. Again, we're still getting that huge debuff from the director, but every little focus is just chipping away at that. So just gonna keep working our way. But we're at least at the point now where we can research things and not feel like, oh, we're just wasting our time, right? Or we're wasting our slots. We also have, the stealth augment that we could do. It's nice if we were fighting against the NCR, who's known to have an air force, or any of the Brotherhood of Steel factions. But because we don't need that cast defense, and the reconnaissance isn't really going to help us too much, at least initially. We're not doing a lot of attacks. Same thing with the planning bonus. It's kind of a no-op, which means we're just using extra energy cell consumption and wasting the augment slot. There's the focuses that we're working on. We're going to get better stuff that's going to help our divisions with defense or entrenchment or even attack. So those are the ones that we really want to wait those out and try to focus on. Nope. And this is it. This is where things start to come apart at the seams. Or not. Maybe we're far enough along that we're going to be okay. But 215th is starting to justify against us. Now, there's no other wars, and we didn't take the warmonger, so maybe we're going to have enough time to get a little bit farther on that construction path. And if you see, we've almost maxed out our outposts. Like we're really making a dent here. And again, this is why we focus the construction on our actual capital territory first. This is why we've taken these kind of steps, because maybe we could have built a few more units if we wouldn't have focused so much on the construction side, but they wouldn't have been equipped, and we would have still been kind of scrambling for our lives, and they would be able to surround us and attack us quite heavily, whereas we're in a spot where we have these fortifications. We're dug in. We're dug in more than your typical unit. As we get rid of that debuff, I mean, that's the thing is we're trying to rush through Primrose Gang. We're trying to get through getting the flux drift generator up. And then, we'll start working on, some of the things on this right side just to get us enough support to where we can confront the director and eliminate the debuff entirely. So there's still hope. We're not out of it yet. Until the war happens, we're not out of it. So we're gonna just keep trying, keep plugging away. All right, so another chance to modify our government here. Let's see what we can do. Again, this is coming down to the wire of we know it's coming. Oh lordy, coming. So here you go. Extra 5% that division defense. We're gonna need that right now. So just kind of building up as many buffs as we can to try to survive this whatever's coming. Get a little bit of reliability here. It's just trying to figure out, is there anything else we can research here? We're not using support units. We're not using a lot of the things that other, countries might have to rely on. We just need troops. We just need equipment. So, whatever we can do to facilitate that. We're still under that debuff. So, this factory, it's just not going to get there in time. But, just having the manpower, if we're capturing equipment from the enemy, that might be enough. Keep the divisions that we have going. I mean, obviously we still have that pool of, the divisions that are quote unquote in training, no equipment for them, but they're still in training, that we could always cancel. But at some point we're going to have to, still build that out. So let's try to see what we can do with just getting a little bit more manpower support out there. Ooh, that war came fast. That's gonna hurt. Ugh. We're losing 19% already. There's really nothing we can do here as far as perks go. I mean, decisions, nothing really here that we can do. You know, again, adding the stealth generator, not gonna help us out. So we're just gonna have to, see if we got enough moxie to try to hold out here and see what happens. Yep. Got the Primrose gang done. A little bit of extra stability, civilian workshops. Let's see what we can do there. Again, it's just trying to rush to get through that debuffs. But if you look here, we're at 0%. We're encircled. I think this is curtains for us. We can just watch it together. And that's it. We're a government in exile. I don't know what that's going to do for us, because, I mean, where are we? Where's our exile? Nobody on our side. Nobody was helping us out. And that's the thing, is it's just the luck of the draw. We just could not get to a point where we could, stand up to the winner there. I mean, like I said, these guys just had the encirclement game down to a pat. I've never seen that many encirclements in this type of run. So, yeah, I think we'll obviously we'll cut it here. We'll give it another shot. We'll see what we can do. And that's one of the things about these types of countries that are small, they're a little quirky, they're the meme countries, right? It's not just how you play it. Sometimes it does come down to luck, and it's not any fault of your own. Like, you shouldn't get discouraged. You take what you learn every time, and you just try again and see what you can do. And with that, like I said, that's all she wrote. Mr. Foosh, signing off. See you next Tuesday. Fuck you.